My question would be, Brian Flores I would say that there's two guys in the NFL. I would say three. I think Spags fits in this category as well. Between Brian Flores, Vic Fangio, and Spags, three of the most creative defensive play callers and designers in all of the NFL. And if you were a team that was entrusting your defense to someone, you could not lose if you leaned on any one of those three. My question, as we've talked about a lot with guys that are non-offensive guys, is what is your answer on offense? Who's your offensive coordinator going to be? And what did you learn from your experience with Miami, where your relationship with their quarterback, their young quarterback, didn't exactly go well, to be blunt? So, again, I'm more locked in on an offensive guy than I ever have been. I don't know what to make of those rumors. I think if that's the case, then you got an issue. Because you have issues anyway. But you know what I'm saying? Because this is the NFL. This isn't high school. This isn't Arlington Heights, where you're going to make a hire because you're trying to protect yourself. It shouldn't be that way. If you're steering maybe the best candidate away from your organization because you're trying to preserve your own position, then we got a big problem up there at Hallis Hall.
That should be the
which
first
we
sign.
know. Which we know.
If already they're questioning what Ryan Poles has done the last year or two, and maybe you're seeing now that a lot of the stuff that you believed in should not be believed in anymore, including the culture, which we'll get to. And then now all of a sudden you're the team president and the hottest name out there. And I will always say, I don't know what kind of a head coach Ben Johnson will be. But he sure sounds like he's got a lot of good things going for him.
And by the way, as we've both mentioned over the course of time, he's been calling plays for 3 years, and he was their passing game coordinator in 2021. So to draw any type of correlation between him and Nagy is silly. And even, he's been doing this job longer than I think probably Kevin O'Connell was in L.A. and probably longer than LaFleur was calling plays. So his tenure and his resume has and again, if the rumor was Brad Holmes, GM of the Detroit Lions, is allegedly doing something like this, I'd get it. He's accomplished. He's put together a really good team. But if it's somebody, and again, this is all speculation, if it's somebody who has swung and missed as much as our current general manager, who is trying to, in this report, push the organization away from Ben Johnson because it would preserve him, I don't even know what to tell you about that.
Well, and this is where Ryan Poles' problem has been. When he aligns with a guy that he likes, whether it's Velus Jones, whether it's Ryan Bates, he has a tough time getting off of that guy. He already sets his mind, and then he is too stubborn to move off of that. So if you're not letting the process play out fairly, and you're already saying, well, I like Flores going into this maybe more than others, what are you doing? You should be looking at the best and the brightest to bring in, not to steer away. You should want Ben Johnson. When's the first chance you have to be in our building? No promises that we're going to hire you, but let's see where this goes. Mike Vrabel, why are you meeting with the Jets before you're meeting with us? Did the Bears not have their ducks in a row? Why did the Jets get the first chance? You've known Vrabel would be available early. You knew you had the vacancy early. Why did the Jets beat you to the punch? Doesn't mean you can't land them, but these are all questions. A, are you steering away Ben Johnson? You're not first to the table with Vrabel. Do you already have a preconceived notion on Brian Flores that he's already a leader before anyone's done any interviews? This is what's gotten the Bears into problems before.
By the way, did you even bring Pete Carroll in to have a conversation with him?
And then why not? On the heels of not even wanting to talk to Bill Belichick. So these are all issues on why I don't know if you saw the tweet that I sent out a couple of days ago on Wednesday when we were all off on New Year's Day. On Monday, I played the soundbite from George. In 2014, the only other season that I remember that is close to being as dysfunctional as this one.
When he said Mom was pissed?
Yes. So George stood up with he was sitting actually next to Ted Phillips, and he said, Virginia is pissed. Virginia has been alive for 8 of the 9 championships, and she wants more. And for a 91-year-old to be pissed, it tells you something about the state of the franchise. So it was time for him to put the money where his mouth is. In the last decade, since he has said that, in 10 years, since George went on record saying, Mom is pissed.
She's pissed off.
Yeah. We need to change the way we do business. The Bears have gone 62-100. So it's one thing to have a bad baseball season in a year. The Bears put together a bad baseball season over a decade. They put us through misery of a 62-100 over a decade. So they knew they had to get their crap right after that, and they gave us 62-100 because they're flawed, because no one ever knows who's in charge. We always say, no, you're not allowed to hire the head coach when you're the general manager. So who's in charge now? Is Poles in charge? Is Warren in charge? Does George get a veto power on who their head coach is? I want to know who's running the show, not who the point person is. Who's hiring the head coach of the football team? Whose job is that?
Don't know.
And then what if Ben Johnson is their favorite and Ben Johnson says, I'm not taking the job unless I bring my personnel guy? Do they fire Poles on the spot? And why does Poles get to keep his job to begin with?
These are all good questions.
I don't want to sit here and complain, but when you go 62-100 after you say you're going to fix it, you show me you don't have any idea on how to fix it. And all I want to do here is stop repeating the same 4-12 or 4-13 season.
Is my math right, guys, that the Bears have a lower winning percentage this year than the White Sox?
So what
the White Sox were 41 in what?
It's 4 out of 16.
And 120?
So that's 25%.
Right. And the Bears are 4, what are they now, 4-12?
Yeah.
So, or over the course of...
They've won 25% of their games, right? There's 16 games, they've won 4 of them.
Right, so they're the same. They're basically the same team. Is that right?
But
yes,
you're right.
Correct?
Technically, the White Sox had a slightly better winning percentage than the
Bears.
Bears.
Yeah, that's
have
what I
now.
thought. Think about that.
Yeah.
And the White Sox just had a historic... Now, I know that there have been a winless... Right, it's different. And I know that there have been a couple of winless seasons in the National Football League, but when you kind of look at it, and we spend all the time pounding the White Sox because they had a historically bad season in Major League Baseball, they actually had a comparable win percentage to our favorite football team.
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? And I couldn't believe when I added it up and it was 62-100.
Yeah.
In 10 years after saying, we've got a problem, my mom's mad, she's going to be alive at 111. And someone's
She's going to be really pissed.
And we're going to be probably saying the same thing. And until they get it right, I'm not believing anymore.
We have 14 wins in 3 seasons. There's 2 teams in your division that have 14 already, and another team that has, 12 wins? We're 14-35?
Yeah.
In the last, with 1 game to go?
Yeah.
So we've won 2 division games, and we're 14-35 in the last 3 years. And look, I've always been on record as saying I give them a pass for the first year because it was a complete teardown. But that's the easy part. We all said it. The easy part is tearing it down. The hard part is building it back up. It's hard to believe you could have never convinced me that 2 years later this team was going to have the same exact record 2 years after that teardown that they had the year of the teardown.
Yeah, I feel with Flores that he's their type of guy they're going to preach. He's a guy who's done it before. He needs a second chance like Bill Belichick needed a second chance after Cleveland, that he is a guy and a leader of men. He will find a way to improve the defense because he is as smart as anyone defensively. He's learned from his mistakes, and he'll probably – remember I told you about the story that Thomas Brown told. Thomas Brown told the story that it was Flores who reached out to him and told him that he was impressed with him as an offensive coordinator. Maybe they keep Thomas Brown in some capacity. I don't know if Josh McCown got along with Thomas Brown. They were together on that Carolina staff. Maybe it's Josh McCown who's the friendly guy who gets the bump and is your offensive coordinator. Like, that's very Bears-ish. When you can get Ben Johnson, you can get Mike Vrabel, but you instead go for a Brian Flores, Josh McCown combination or something like that.
My question, too, would be, what would Brian's relationship be with the quarterback? We know that was pedaled to the metal in Miami, right? Like, I think Tua aired him out on the Dan Le Batard show, I believe, back in, a while back.
Yes.
And that relationship was exposed as being very, very toxic. I think our young quarterback needs a very strong coach at this particular time. I think his fundamentals have broken down too much at times. I think he's lazy with his ball fakes. I think that he's trying to do too much. The ball's not coming out quick. He's not playing on time. There are a lot of things that I think that will improve with better hardline coaching. Is Brian Flores going to be hard on his quarterback the way he should be without crossing the line, or is he going to tap the brakes because he comes in with the reputation that he was too hard on Tua?
That's what I mean.
And then comes in here and then taps the brake when I think Caleb needs a really strong coach in his room.
And that's why I don't believe, like you've always taught me, time and place.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I believe Brian Flores deserves a second chance.
Yeah.
I don't believe his second chance should be where the quarterback development is of the utmost priority. So he's won. Brian Flores has won. Like, his first year they went 5-11. I think they started like 0-7. He got the rig back on the road at the end of year one. Second year they went 10-6. And third year they went 9-8. He didn't do poorly in Miami. Did fairly well. And they had a chance to go get Sean Payton, and then they had that huge falling out.
They had Peyton, Tom Brady situation.
So they tried, and then they fired him, and he sued him. He was 24-25. After year one, they went 5-11.
I agree with you 100%. I think Brian Flores deserves another chance. I don't think this would not be the opportunity that I would.
Mike Vrabel, I would do. Mike Vrabel gives you everything. He's a proven winner. Mike Vrabel's hired the right coordinators. You want that type of coach? You've got it in Mike Vrabel with less questions, and I think he's learned a lot sitting out. And then you've got Ben Johnson and other OCs who could be a good head coach. But I think those are the two that you got to look towards first before you don't start putting Brian Flores atop the list before you start any sort of process. It's what drives me crazy about the Bears all the time.
Well, and expect the unexpected. I mean, I would say that that's something that has happened quite frequently. I don't think Matt Eberflus was on anybody's bingo card several years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, the report about, Ryan Poles steering them away from Ben Johnson, allegedly. Who was the source for that? You're saying it was a former front office guy with the Lions that is suggesting that was the case?
In that guy's report, it was someone who does – he's a draft insider.
Yeah, from Walter Football, Charlie Campbell.
Okay. I mean, that if 100% true, I don't have any knowledge that it's not true. That's disturbing to me because, I wouldn't be steering this organization away from a guy who is as respected of an offensive play caller and game planner as there is in the league right now.
There should be no steering at this point.
No.
There's at this point, before you've interviewed anybody, there should be no steering whatsoever. Let the process play out.
I'd be shocked if Ben Johnson wasn't, if not at the top of their list, close to the top. They know what they have invested in the quarterback. So, and again, he's not the only guy on the team, and I spend a lot of time focusing on him and harping on him. But they know what they've got invested. They know where their priority is, so they better address that. It has to be a guy that can manage all 53 guys for sure. But to me, it just makes sense that you try to find your LaFleur or your O'Connell or your McVay.
Yeah, for sure.